So I'm trying to check. I've got another system checking the Facebook to see if we're live. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody, and good morning from other parts of the world. We're excited to have you here. Thank you for joining us. My name is Kayode Yusuf. I am an Atlas Core Fellow from Lagos, Nigeria, class 9. I am participating in the very first blended Atlas Core Fellowship. That means that myself and my classmates are serving from our home countries instead of going to the US to serve. I welcome you to the Atlas Core People Power virtual series, which all the months, and at the People Power sessions, we'll discuss several global issues from a variety of perspectives. But first things first, I hope that we are all keeping safe in all the parts of the world that we are viewing this from. And I want to believe that we are following all of the local regulations aimed at ensuring that we are all safe and sound. Please use your mask when you go out. Make sure that you wash your hands regularly and do everything that you can to keep safe. Today, our topic is social entrepreneurship. And I think that is quite instructive at this time we're in, where a lot of things have turned around and we need to begin to see new perspectives to things. So today we'll be having a couple of experts, if I can call them that, in the field of social entrepreneurship. But before we do that, I'll just run through the agenda. So we'll have a brief introduction for 3 minutes. And after that, we introduce the panelists for about 5 minutes, after which we'll begin to throw questions at our expert panelists, who I'm happy that they're all looking at me from different parts of the world. But this discussion is not going to come to an end without involving you, the audience, because you are the most important part of this discussion. So we want to get from you, we want to get your questions, and want to ask these questions to the panelists and have them respond to your questions. So all through this session, something I want you all to do would be to please go through the Facebook comments, post your questions there at any time during this session. As we ask the panelists questions, I'll throw your questions at them. Whatever questions we're not able to cover during the time the panelists are speaking, we'll cover during the question and answer segment. When you ask your questions, please put the city and country you're viewing us from so that we can have a very global perspective about where our audiences are coming from. And after the question and answer section from the audience, we would move on to the closing remarks. So quickly, before we move on to our panelists, I'm going to ask, what is social entrepreneurship? Social entrepreneurship is a term that has been used very well, sometimes loosely, sometimes correctly. And it means a lot of things to a lot of people. So according to my slides here, social entrepreneurship applies to a for-profit business. However, a social enterprise usually focuses on creating a positive social impact in the lives of the community that is around that social enterprise, and also in the life of the people that serves as customers to this social enterprise. And something that also resonates with social enterprises is the fact that innovative solutions to address the most pressing social needs. And so that takes us to the next phase. What is the difference between a social enterprise and a non-profit? And if all for-profits usually provide solutions to problems, can we also call them social enterprises? I'm pretty sure that our panelists will give a bit of insight into this. But I would just touch a bit of the differences between non-profits, for-profits, and social enterprises. And I'll start with the non-profits. So non-profits usually are aimed to serving the public good. And most of the times, when non-profits raise funds, they use most of their funds to pursue their goals. So for instance, if a non-profit, for instance, I serve with Evidence Action in Washington, D.C., and when Evidence Action raises funds, most of the funds that they raise goes towards the free projects that they're running. They want the world, water the water project, and the accelerator project. So most of the funds that Everest Action generates goes towards this. Whilst a for-profit on the far right, what they would do would be to raise funds, do business with the aim of getting profits. And who are the people that get these profits? The shareholders and the people that run the business. Then coming down to a social enterprise, how does a social enterprise run? A social enterprise usually would apply commercial strategies to maximizing improvements in human and environmental well-being, rather than maximizing profit for stakeholders of the business. So a portion of the revenue will go towards advancing a social cause, and the rest will be used to perfect their goods or service. What are examples of social enterprises that we have seen across the world? There are several social enterprises across the world, but I'm going to focus on these enterprises that are Atlas Core partners. So we have Kiva. So Kiva crowdfunds loans for financially underserved people globally. Ashoka is quite popular. Ashoka builds a community of change leaders who transform institutions and cultures by supporting change making for the good of society. We also have ASIN, and what they do is that it's innovators to make the world a better place. I am very interested in the Airban initiative by Microsoft, because what they're actually trying to do is to bring affordable broadband access to everyone, especially people who live in rural areas. So wherever it is that you are in the world, you realize that people who live in the cities have better access to internet, much more than those that live in the rural areas. So the Microsoft Airban initiative aims to push quality and affordable broadband to people who live in the rural areas. And we also have Nexus. And Nexus is a global community funded to bridge communities of wealth and social enterprises. And quickly, we'll move on to some statistics on social entrepreneurship globally. So in the European Union, we have seen that about 25% of new enterprises set up every year are social enterprises. So that means that 1 out of every 4 enterprises have a social goal behind them. In Senegal, we have 10% of the population pursuing social entrepreneurial activities, 25% that we see in the European Union. And in the Middle East, 30% of new organizations are searching for investment with social enterprises. In India, 89% of all the social enterprises were formed less than 10 years ago. What this means is that 9 out of every 10 social enterprises are less than a decade old. In Indonesia, we have 80% of social enterprises are small-scale enterprises. And if you look at the economics of things, we realize that small-scale enterprises are the mainstay of any economy globally. Looking at Malaysia, 21% of all social enterprises face a lack of funding, which is a story that is the same globally. It's very difficult to fund social enterprises. And I'm going to end up with my own country, Nigeria. And in Nigeria, we see that most small-scale businesses are beginning to place value on offering social capital to customers. So you begin to see people design business plan with the mindset of providing social capital to the customers that they're going to serve. So social entrepreneurship is a new economic trend that is possibly not going to go away. And I'm happy that we have experts here to discuss this new trend with us. So quickly, let's move on to our panelists, and I'll just quickly call them one after the other to introduce themselves in the Atlas Core Facts way. And I'll start with Anna. Anna, please, could you introduce yourself to us?
Sure. So you want the 5 facts?
That's correct. Yes, I want the 5 facts.
Okay. So hi, hello everyone. I'm Ana. I'm from Brazil, currently living in Portugal. I am a class 22 Atlas Core Fellow. I served at Nexus in Washington, D.C. in 2016. My fun fact is that I have 13 tattoos.
That's beautiful, Anna. Thank you so much. And also just to mention that Anna has got a master's degree in social entrepreneurship from the Alt International Business School in San Francisco. She serves as the public-private partnership coordinator at Nexus Global Youth Summit in Washington, D.C. She's mainly responsible for institutional partnerships with institutions such as the United Nations and the White House. Thank you very much, Anna, for joining us. Quickly, we'll move on to Edison. Edison, please could you introduce yourself using the 5 Atlas core facts. Edison, your mic is muted. Please could you unmute yourself? Thank you.
Okay, you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, so hello everybody. My name is Edison Frango. I was a last Corp fellow during the year 2017-2018 at the Open Gov Hub in Washington, D.C. And now I am the executive director of the Open Gov Hub Albania, which is the affiliated hub of Washington, D.C. And I live in Tirana, in the capital, and we are doing these activities and the hub in Albania. That's all right now.
Okay, thank you very much, Edison. Just a bit of insight into Edison's life. Edison founded OpenGov Hub Albania, which he has mentioned. But aside from that, Edison has served as the head of entrepreneurship support at the Albanian Development Fund for Diaspora at the Ministry of State for Diaspora in Albania. And he has also served as an advisor to the mayors of 2 municipalities in Albania. Thank you very much, Edson, for joining us. And quickly we move on to Aden. Aden, please could you introduce yourself using the 5 Atlas core facts.
Sure. Hi, everyone. So my name is Nino. I'm from Tunisia. I'm an Atlas core fellow, class 26, and I served at Pixera Global in 2017. And my fun fact is that my sister and I are named after a cartoon characters.
Thank you very much, Nino. It's good to have you. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. So aside from facilitating this session, I am also looking forward to learning from these experts. As you can see, Anna has got a master's in social entrepreneurship. She has worked a lot on partnerships. Edison and Nino have built so much on partnerships, and I've got my pen, I've got my paper, and I'm going to be scribbling down notes as we go on to this session. So quickly, we'll move on to the panelist session. I'm going to start with Anna. Anna, what would you watch out for in a social entrepreneur? What makes you work with a social entrepreneur?
Wow, that's a big question. So a social entrepreneur, I think, is a passionate individual for sure. That's an entrepreneur in itself. But I think they are keen for a challenge, because social entrepreneurship requires that you have a social and environmental mission behind your business. So that's challenging in itself. So I believe that this individual needs to have a lot of passion for what they want to do and the change they want to make in the world. So definitely that's what attracts me towards them. And I believe that's what drives them to achieve what they want to achieve in the world.
Thank you very much, Anna. And something that resonates there is the passion that the social entrepreneur needs to have. So the social entrepreneur needs to be very passionate about the cause that they are pushing for. And I'll move on to Nino. So what can you say about social entrepreneurs you're working with in your country? Do they usually find societal problems and make a business out of it, or do they make a business and then use the proceeds to pursue social causes?
Sure, thank you for the question. Actually, it's a mix of both. So here, as of my work with L-Space, which is the first social innovation hub in Tunisia. So most social entrepreneurs they surf on the wave of social issues by making a profit while providing tangible solutions to support communities or victims of that social issue. And then what I love about and what I advocate for is that these social entrepreneurs, while they're working their business or building their business to solve a problem, they should also focus on a policy level, because we need, let's say, more than one social entrepreneur or one social enterprise to change, for example, the fishing industry, or to change some like standard and corrupt situations that is affecting people. So that's and also social entrepreneurs basically crop up and develop, and I've seen a huge increase in the past 5 years in Tunisia as people are more aware about social entrepreneurship. And also, for a fact, 2 weeks ago, the parliament finally signed or approved a bill or the new law for the social and solidarity economy, which is basically the social entrepreneurship law. And that will grant more access to funding, that will regulate also the impact investing front. And also, having this law means that now Tunisia is ripe for social entrepreneurship on all levels. It's all a matter of application of these laws and procedures. And my organization, Elspace, we have been part of the advocacy and policy development work since its beginning, basically 3 years ago. So yeah, that's social entrepreneurship in Tunisia.
Thank you very much, and thank you for also that piece of information. I think that's a very huge step, having the government come up to support social entrepreneurship in the country. I'm looking forward to the impact that that's going to have in Tunisia. So I'm going to ask the same question, also as somebody that works daily with social entrepreneurs. What can you say about social entrepreneurs that you're working with? What's the trends that you're seeing amongst them? Anna, when she gave her opening remarks, did speak about passion. What are some of the other things that you see about social entrepreneurs in your country? Your mic is muted, Sim.
Okay.
Great.
Is it okay now?
Yes, it's better now.
Okay, getting the experience through the program of Atlas Corp at the Open Gov Hub in Washington, D.C., I saw that a lot of organization and a lot of organization was working on like transparency, accountability, fighting corruption, and like making civic participation. And I see their role and their work that it was doing. So I said that why not to open even an Albanian social entrepreneurship place. So like for us, this big space that we had in Albania, the Open Gov Hub Albania, is working really closely with issues of transparency, accountability, and civic participation. And so like seeing this as a matter of problems in our country, I think that this space will give a help even for the social businesses, even for the NGOs, but even for local authority and government to be more transparent, accountable, and like fight corruption over even in Europe, in Balkans, but even other countries. So this space, it will help like this organization in their track and like in connection to the local authorities, government, and organizations.
Thank you very much, Edison. And I'll still stay with you. So these days we see several social issues come up. We've seen racism, we've seen gender and sexual discrimination, we've seen income disparity, we've seen climate change, we've seen lack of access to clean water, we've seen lack of access to healthcare. Several social issues are beginning to crop up daily. Do you think these social issues will position social enterprises to be the future of business enterprises? Or do you think that this is a phase that is just going to fade out sometime soon?
Okay, should I go?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, we should emphasize that when we talk about this kind of social issues, we are talking about the real life of many individuals and social groups. We are talking about their struggles and day-to-day problems. These issues give social enterprises a very important role. Social enterprises dare to deal with issues that only governments should deal. On these issues, the social enterprises and governments should work as partners. The governments always need help in dealing with these issues, and sometimes their work restarts from zero when the governments change and lose their institutional memory. In this aspect, the role of social enterprises is very important. They should lead, force execution of approved strategies, and remind the governments about their promises. Maybe one day the world might not need social enterprises and the issue we are talking today won't exist anymore, but for sure this day will not come during our lifetime. As we work or see that much more work needs to be done. So this is not just a phase that will soon fade out, but it has the potential to get worse.
Thank you very much, Edson. And Anna, I would also want your take on this question.
Of course.
I've mentioned several social issues. Yeah, so what's your take? Do you think that social enterprises is the future of business, or do you think that it's going to fade out soon?
So I do believe that social enterprises are the future of business. Like Edison just pointed out, governments come and go, and business they go on. They come and they stay and they evolve with society. So I think they are key for the solution of problems that the world is facing right now. And I think that the world cannot go on without care and empathy. So that's why social enterprises are key to the solution. They are the midway between NGOs and normal businesses, traditional businesses. And I believe that social enterprises unlock solutions in a way that other types of organizations cannot do. They have endless possibilities of innovating and creating change. Because they profit and they do good at the same time.
Thank you very much, Anna. And I'll jump quickly to Nino. Nino,
yeah.
what role do you think that innovation would play in social enterprises? Just like we have mentioned, social enterprises are going to be here for a long time. And there's a very good saying that says that the only constant thing is change. So that means that we need to begin to see a lot of change happen in our social enterprises. So what role do you think that innovation is going to play in the lifetime of a social enterprise?
I think social enterprises and social entrepreneurship as a concept is also built on innovation, because you can't easily have a social enterprise functioning and very impactful social enterprise without adopting innovation as a way of practice and as a methodology for doing all their processes and operations. But here, innovation is like a pristine of social entrepreneurship as social enterprises, because it allows for the social enterprises to develop further their services and their products and to impact more people positively. Also, the more innovative social enterprises are, the more edgy, we can say that, they are, and the more they can change the status quo of a certain situation. And also, of course, here it depends if a social enterprise exists to solve a problem until it's solved and then it goes away, or social enterprise exists just to basically profit from the problem while, like, offering a different alternative for people. So these are like two different models and two different ways of thinking. And in either way, there's like the innovation should be a great aspect of developing any product or any service by a social enterprise. And
Thank you
also,
very
sorry,
much, Nino.
I want to add that when we talk about innovation, it should not be only about like bringing a new idea or something. It's social enterprises also develop a lot of hardware products, a lot of like when we talk about innovation in the broader scale of things, and not only just like an idea and then we test it out and then we'll see. So it's more we test it, we see it, we verify it, and then we retest it, we build another version, and then we replicate it, and then we develop it, and then we grow it. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Nino. And I'll come back to you, Anna, for the importance of impact evaluation. How important is it for a social enterprise to evaluate the impact of their work?
Well, measuring impact is super important nowadays. And I don't think that organizations value that as they should. Just like for standard organizations, you have the ROI, which is the return of investment. For social enterprises, you have the SROI, social return of investment. And that is as important as the return of investment. You have to be able to measure your impact. You have to be able to communicate your metrics, not only to your customers, but to your investors, right? Because they keep you alive. So, and your metrics, they guide you on whether you're doing well or not. They tell you whether your work is going well or not. So they're key. They are essential to your business. So I think people should take impact measurement more seriously.
Thank you very much. I'll put the same question to Essin. In your experience, how important is it to measure the impact of a social enterprise?
Okay, so for like important is very important because constant evaluation is important in making decision like amending a project, developing it, expanding in a new direction, aborting it, gaining support and trust, increasing funds, drafting strategies, etc. But I think the most important is data. That data is the basis of every logical decision.
Thank you very much, Edison. So we can see that impact evaluation is quite important. We need to know what impact our work is having on our communities or our customers or the people that are that we. Question would go back to you, Anna, and this has to do with recognition. So some of the things that encourage people when they do social works in social entrepreneurship is recognition. Of course, people want to be recognized. So these days we see that there's a lot of glam and glitter. Young people focus on so much of awards and titles. They want to be on this list or the other list. They want to be recognized. They want to always have the front row, which is not bad. But I think impact as social entrepreneurs is way, way, way more important than these. So what strategies can we take to ensure that we focus on our work, make our impact, and still get the recognition that we deserve? What do you think?
Okay, so first of all, there are already some awards out there, like the Holt Prize for social entrepreneurs that recognize their work internationally. I do think that sometimes there is the misconception of social enterprises versus NGOs, and that's why social entrepreneurs are not as broadly recognized nowadays. But I think that this is changing. This is slowly changing. People are getting more used to the concept of social business. And going back to impact measurement, I think that's the key to getting recognition. I think that once organizations start showcasing their metrics and their numbers and their data, people will give value to that, because people tend to admire things that they can measure, and then they will award them. I think that's the way to get there.
Thank you so much, Anna. I think that that's quite instructive. So display your metrics, pretty much show the impact that you make, and I think that the recognition is going to come. Nino, do you think so too? Do you have something to add to this?
Actually, so yeah, what Anna said, I can't agree more to that. And also, there's this concept, like it's a trend, especially for young social entrepreneurs, which is like the fake it till you make it. So you have an idea, you participate in programs, competitions, you win the award, and then when they ask you about your product or your impact, it's just like, it's almost fake, let's say. It's like, you develop something like just an idea and something very, very minimal. You get a lot of grants and a lot of recognition for it, but the impact level is like not existent. And for this is a very serious thing, and it will also affect the social entrepreneurship community in that location in a very bad way, because people will no longer trust social entrepreneurs for this kind of behaviors. So it's always about finding the balance between working hard, achieving impact, and then having the recognition for it. And this can be also done through partnerships, strategic partnerships, and of course a very, humane strategic communication plan for the social enterprise.
Thank you very much, Nino. And one of the things that you mentioned was partnerships. So I think that's good enough to drive us into the next question, which I'm going to throw at the three of you, because reading through your profiles, I see that the three of you are experts in partnerships, right? So we've seen Anna run very top level institutions across the globe. We've seen Edison do a couple of partnerships. Even done one with you, Nino. So I hope that the both of you can speak a little bit about your partnership and how it's important. But I'm going to start with Anna. Anna, what is the importance of partnerships to social enterprises?
Okay, so partnerships are key to any type of enterprise. You have to take your stakeholders seriously. And engaging the local community in any business is extremely important. Not only you immediately would think about citizens and customers, but it's also very important to engage other businesses. And not only other social businesses, but other traditional businesses as well, because they are part of the local community as well. Talking about partnerships, it's important to note that social enterprises traditionally take a non-competitive approach to partners, and what obviously they want to profit, but what that means is that they want to maximize their impact as much as they can. So if somebody else wants to do what they're doing, wants to copy their idea, a social business usually wants the other one to copy their idea, to take it somewhere else and make it happen there to maximize impact. And they want them to do it with quality. So you actually want to share. So there is this idea of non-competitive approach to partnerships. So yeah, partnerships, like I said, are extremely important, and you should take everybody into account when you think about them.
Thank you, Anna. I'll move on to Edson. Edson, what's your take on partnerships? Can you give us some practical examples of partnerships that you've experienced, whether in your own work or in some of the social entrepreneurs that you groom?
Okay, we use partnerships in our daily life. So we share our life, housework, activities, leisure with our family, partners, and friends. Therefore, it is indisputable that we should see partnership as normal way of implementing our project as social enterprises. Partnerships bring added values, promote, develop, strength, help, enlarge, and what's more important, they increase the chance of being more effective and efficient. So, being an Atlas Core Fellow in Washington, D.C., I have developed several projects through my fellowship in D.C. So, I hosted several delegations and I have done a lot of partnership with embassies and like with local authorities. So, like partnerships are really important on developing new projects, but even facilitating the communication through the businesses, through the civil society, through the government. So it is really important to have good partnerships so you can develop more your spaces and your activities. Like a lot of organizations are interested to become, like part of the Open Gov Hub Albania because we have great connection and collaborations through all these institutions.
All right, thank you very much, Edson. And I'll move on to Nino. Nino, could you give us your take on partnerships, the importance to social enterprises?
Sure. I think like Edison and Anna said, it's we do partnerships on a daily basis, and also it does not depend on the size of the organization or the social enterprise or the enterprise, the type of the enterprise. So from my side, I would add that there's this concept that I actually knew by being a fellow at Pixar Global, which is called the tri-sector partnership. And it's basically how to get the government sector, basically public institutions and government offices and ministries, the private sector with all its companies and the chambers of commerce and everything, and the social sector, which is the NGO sector, basically. So in a lot of times, a social enterprise will be placed right in the middle between all the three sectors. And at the same time, we want to do impact for people and changing the policy and, of course, selling a service or being more, let's say, profitable. A lot of there's different models of where social enterprises can engage in very productive and a win-win situation with partners. For example, I could tell you a story from Tunisia. It's the social enterprise called Ahmini. And this Ahmini social enterprise, what they do is they offer social security for rural women who could not have access to the government social security system or to private insurance companies. So this social enterprise comes in between, and they actually partner with government institutions to kind of reach out to the people where the government cannot reach out to or left out, and to insurance companies to kind of use their know-how to achieve their services or their products. And this is just one example of so many. And of course, depending on the location, depending on the organization and the social mission, partnerships should always be built on trust and on mutual understanding and mutual gain. It should be always a win-win situation. And of course, corporations sometimes will leverage more into their favor, governments as well, or larger NGOs can leverage more power into that partnership. But here, social entrepreneurs and social enterprises should know their real value. If they're really doing a great impact and they really know and are aware of their mission, they should be use that as a leverage in all these potential collaborations and partnerships with different sectors. Of course, granted, there's a lot of risky or like shady or gray areas, let's say. Because, for example, environmental NGOs that partner with oil companies, and that's called greenwashing in certain cases. Some, let's say, corporations that will use, LGBTQ groups or human rights groups as a CSR activity or something, and that's also pink washing. So we should be really careful about how to approach and how to engage in partnerships like this, and especially being a social entrepreneur.
Thank you very much, Nino. And that's quite interesting and instructive. So partnerships are important, but we should also be careful about how we get involved in partnerships. And I want to stay on that point. So what are some of the booby traps that you think that we can avoid when we are working towards alliances and partnerships with other institutions?
Should I answer?
Please go ahead, Anna.
Okay. So I agree 100% with what Nino just said, that it should be a win-win situation. Yes, you are a business. Yes, you want to profit, but you should look for ways that both sides end up winning somehow. I do think that it is important for partnerships to be formalized. Sometimes things are not properly written down and formalized, and they are just somehow a mouth-to-mouth sort of deal, and that can be dangerous. So even if it is between good friends, I think that partnerships need to be taken seriously. You need to protect yourself as much as you can. And a tip to form good partnerships is to network a lot, and most of all, to be humble, because you don't know who is going to be your best partner. You could be talking to the best partner of your life and you don't know. So be humble, respect who you're talking to, no matter who it is in the organization, what level he or she is on, what role they're on, because that person can be the key to a great partnership, and you may not know that yet.
Thank you very much, Anna. So that's quite instructive. And what I hear you say is that do not dwell on verbal agreements, which is something that a lot of new social entrepreneurs would usually do a lot of the times. You meet up someone at a bar, you discuss some things, and then you hit the road without having anything written down, nothing signed and stamped. So that's something that we need to take into account. The fact that you need to get things documented, not just our agreements, but probably everything about our engagements. Make sure that you have documents to back up the things that you say. Thank you very much, Anna. I also picked something from what you said in terms of being humble. That is quite instructive too. Thank you so much. Now, I've noticed that most of the questions that we are responding to are questions on people who have started their social enterprises, right? And I got a question asking about how to fund a social enterprise. So I want to throw this out to you, the panelists. What advice do you have for someone who is just starting out as a social entrepreneur? How do they create their ideas? How do they move their ideas into markets? How do they engage with communities? So Anna, do you want to start?
Sure. So I think there are many models nowadays to put a business together. I do believe in design thinking. I think that's a great approach to social enterprises out there. And that's basically a faster way to design a business, to prototype it, to test it, see if it works or not, and try it all over again. I do believe that it is key to not waste your time on things that are not working out. And I do think that you have to be fast about it. You have to be quick about it. That is key to any entrepreneur. So I think that if you have an idea, don't keep it to yourself, first of all. Don't try to reinvent the wheel as well, because that is just too much work. There are so many ways of innovating without reinventing the wheel. And try to collaborate, try to engage and understand and educate yourself with whoever is already on the field, wherever you are. And get your idea on a piece of paper, ideate, put a business plan together. The Lean Business Model Canvas is great for that. And use the design thinking prototype methodology to do some research to understand your customer, see if it works, and just do it.
Thank you very much, Anna. So one of the things I hear you say is that a social entrepreneur needs to do their research very well before hitting the market, and they should always wait. Do not be scared of starting all over again, because you cannot be sure that your first attempt is going to be a successful attempt. So there's going to be failures, but you need to overcome the failures and move over and keep getting better at what you do. Thank you very much, Anna. Edison, do you have something to add to what Anna said? Edison, your mic, please.
So it was really interesting what Anna said, but even that you have to create the trust on the work that you are doing. So like you have even like to protect your integrity. So for example, when you are doing partnership, so you have to be very careful. You can like create a big scale of opportunity to to partner with different entities and not focus only in a specific one, but you have to be careful like protecting the integrity. About my case, like in Albania, as I said, that it was like the interest of local authorities, the government and civil society to develop this scale. So it was in their interest to fight corruption and to make more transparent the government and to be more accountable. So after coming back in Albania, as I was working for the government and NGOs and local authorities, so they had an interest to open this big space, so like you can offer services and you can offer good things, so the government can be like more transparent, and so they can lose the work on fighting corruption. And so as a hub in Albania, I think that is a trust that our hub have given to the civil society, and so as Nino said, the trust is really important.
Thank you very much, Edison. So I hear you speak a lot about trust, trust in the social entrepreneur himself, trust in the enterprise himself. This tells a lot about integrity. Thank you very much. Because we're running out of time, I'm going to throw out the last set of questions. And so normally this would have been a physical engagement between us, but because of what's happening globally, we would have to connect via virtual systems, right? So what this means is that we have a new normal. There's a new way of doing things, right? And there's a very good possibility that we may not just recover from this new normal. So any advice for social entrepreneurs on how to survive during this COVID era and in the post-COVID era? What are the things that entrepreneurs can do to ensure sustainability of their ideas, of their businesses, and of the impact of their work? I'll start with you.
I think that it is always possible to turn difficulties into opportunities. So this is definitely a chance to do so. And I believe that COVID is pushing us all into the fourth industrial revolution. And therefore, being online is more important than ever. So I think that's key for any new enterprise out there, is somehow having an online presence. It's working on that because that seems to be the future, the new normal right now. So how can, I would ask myself, if you have an idea that is too based on the physical world, how could I would push myself and think, how could I innovate and put it online? Because that's where people are interacting right now. That's where the next generations are interacting right now. And COVID is just pushing us into it faster. So that would be my advice.
Thank you very much. Nino, do you have something to add?
Yeah, sure. So, first of all, and I'm speaking from personal experience and from the like the COVID-19, like, in Tunisia, we had a lockdown for a couple of weeks, and it was not fun. But like, first of all, as a social entrepreneur, I would recommend that social entrepreneurs focus on their mental health um, first, and then at the same time reconnect with the communities that they're serving. If they're serving rural communities, having stuff online might not be the right solution. If they're working with urban communities with like access to internet and devices and everything, that could be like really great to shift everything online. But also, it will depend on the services, it will depend on the products, it will depend on every situation. So every social enterprise is different and unique, and every social entrepreneur is different as well. So and here it's time, like and thanks to the COVID-19 crisis, it's time for social entrepreneurs to rethink their processes, rethink their services and products, and reconnect again and or further with their communities, because not only social entrepreneurs are affected by COVID-19, it's also the communities they serve will be affected by the crisis. So it's like the new normal requires uh, back to the root, but also at the same time propelling in the future kind of thinking. So like checking what's happening, what's affecting, and what are the opportunities, and then develop the service and or product even further to impact more people.
Thank you very much, Nino. Edison, so please.
Yeah, so I'll just be short with this. So, like the world, I think, and is going online now as we are online. So it will be just a practical example. So for like any advice is like keep the distance, wash the hands, put the mask. Okay.
Thank you very much, Edison. That was quite practical. And quickly, I'll just run through some of the comments that we've got. And I'm going to start with Isabella. Isabella pretty much restating pretty much the things that we're saying. She's saying, how come people still think that social enterprises are different from regular organizations? Both need profits, both need strategic plans, both need efficient internal processes, both need to look at their costs, both work with risk and quality management, both need advertising, both need transparency, etc. The main difference is that a social enterprise looks after its social impact besides its profits, and pretty much we've said that a lot earlier on, and I see from Dr. Abayomi Alishimoju, thank you very much for joining us. Also see Anna. Anna, thank you. And not Anna that's the panelist, but Anna that's joining us. Thank you very much for joining us. I also see Matthew. Matthew, it's good to be here. Juliana, thank you. Juliana was appreciating Anna's advice earlier on. And I also see Rafael, who says, good job, guys. I also see Louise. Louise says, thank you. I also see Lusungu from Malawi. Thank you very much for joining us. And hey, Abby is there. Thank you, Abby, for joining us. Abby works with Atlas Corp. And Pradeep from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you very much, Pradeep, for joining us. I see Ivano from Switzerland, Juliana, and Sylvie from Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso. Thank you, Sylvie, for joining us. I also see Anna from is Giovanni from Switzerland. Thank you, Giovanni, for joining us. And okay, Isabella is from Portugal. Thank you, Isabella. I see Meidi, I see Eunice. And excitingly, we also had Scott Bell, the CEO of Atlas Corp, joining us. Thank you so much, Scott, for joining us. Thank you so much for being awesome. And thank you for being a very big inspiration for us all. And quickly, we'll bring this session to a close. And I'll start by appreciating our three panelists. Thank you very much, Anna. Anna, for giving us your views about this this topic, social entrepreneurship. Thank you very much, Edson, for sharing your experience with us. And thank you very much, Nino, for sharing your experience with us. It's been an exciting time with you all, and it's been quite a learning spree, learning from your experiences. And also to all of our viewers from across the globe, thank you very much for joining us. I also want to thank you for also staying this long, staying up to the very end, and trying to engage us as much as possible. Thank you very much. I also want to thank the communications team at Atlas Corp, especially Kate and Valentina. They pretty much did all of the back-end work to ensure that this was a success. Thank you very much for all of the work that you do. And I'll invite you to please connect with Atlas Corp on social media, with Instagram, with Facebook, and Twitter. Please connect so that you can be engaged. You can follow up with all of the happenings at Atlas Corp. The People Power session happens every month. So this is the one for July. The one for August will be coming up soon. And it's if you follow Atlas Corp on Facebook that you get to be informed about this. So I urge you to please go to facebook.com and search for Atlas Corp, or you can just check on www.facebook.com/Atlas Corp, and you'll be able to get updates about this information. With this said, I would want to say thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day. And most importantly, like Edson had said, keep safe, wear your masks, and ensure that you wash your hands all the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.